I was walking for about 2 hours today. And in that course of that walk, I was thinking about the way in which communism will be implemented. So there's two diametrically opposed definitions of communism. One is the idea that workers are liberated because the parasitic class of usurious bankers, people who charge interest, people who don't create anything, they don't make anything, they merely control the flow of money through the religion of capitalism. And therefore they enslave the rest of us. And so communism is the idea of the workers being liberated so that productive labor is the only labor that's rewarded as opposed to parasitical labor, which is not really labor at all. But we would say productive economic activity as opposed to parasitic economic activity. The libertarians actually have the same goal, but that was the original goal of communism put forth by Karl Marx. Now, whether you think that the theories of the communists and how to achieve this are correct or not, that at least was the goal. But on the other hand, there's a definition of communism that's commonly understood, which is essentially the state completely owns you, right? And the state, therefore, has enslaved you. So these are diametrically opposed, but I think they're both legitimate definitions, depending on who you ask. Whether you ask a communist or an anti-communist, they're going to give you one of these definitions. And that's an interesting thing, but in this video, I kind of want to use the negative definition. I want to use the negative definition of communism where the state totally controls your income, controls your housing, controls the food in your mouth. So we're looking at a situation where there is a shift away from traditional forms of currency into digital currency. And I don't know how quickly this will take place. I don't know if it's going to be complete in 10, 20, 30 years. I don't know. But it seems like the ultimate conclusion of this is going to be the phasing out of physical paper currency and the phasing in of virtual currency. So again, I'm not sure. I think it will be like Blockbuster. I think it will be like, you used to go to the movie store and you used to rent movies at the movie store, and then one day it just disappeared. Now there's a red box, I guess, in the Walmart or wherever that is, but for the most part, you rent movies online. You rent them on YouTube, you rent them on Amazon, you rent them on Netflix, you rent them on Hulu. But there's no physical place that you get movies from anymore. And that's probably going to happen with money. And these money distribution companies, it might be Bitcoin, it might be Monero, it might be these various things. But I think at some point the government's going to regulate these so that you have to have them in a wallet of some sort, which will be equivalent to a bank account. And there's going to be some controversy. I don't know if it's going to be like a 1929 crash. I don't know if it's going to be a scam. I don't know if it's going to be theft. I don't know if it's going to be terrorism. But the government's going to increasingly regulate crypto to the point where you're not going to be able to have a private wallet. You're going to have some kind of public wallet. Or at least, that's how the majority of people are going to do it. In any case, your bank account for your United States dollars, which I think will still be around, you can't just open a bank. You can't just do that. And you can't just open a credit card either. You've got MasterCard, you've got Visa, right? There's a limited number of payment processors who do United States dollars. And these are effectively government corporations, whether they call themselves public or private, because they have this semi-monopoly or oligopoly where it's just a couple of companies and they control the market. So if you want to open a bank account, if you want to start a bank, you're going to have a relationship with these companies. And so we're going to reach a point where if you made a joke or you retweeted a meme in 2015 that was offensive, that you're not going to be able to have a bank account. And what's the consequence of this? The consequence is that you will go on EBT, Snapcard. You're not going to go hungry. You're just going to get your money from the government. You're going to get housing from the government. You're going to get transportation from the government. Everything is going to come from the government. And so this is what I guess I'm trying to say is that, this is not libertarianism, right? This is communism. Not everyone will be subjected to this. Many people will still exist within a more quote-unquote capitalist framework. But those who spread bad memes will be subjected to communism. And this form of control, this form of social control is much more effective than throwing you in jail. This sort of communism is much more effective than throwing you in jail because you still have the freedom to go wherever you want, do whatever you want. You just don't have access to a bank account. You can't get a job, And there is nothing in the Constitution that guarantees your right to a bank account. There's nothing in the Constitution that guarantees your right to a job. There's nothing to protect you. So this is total communism for those who are politically incorrect. And we'll see what percentage. This is a sliding scale of how, right now, I would say there are a few hundred individuals who are subjected to this level of communism where they're not allowed to have a job, they're not allowed to have a bank account, they're not allowed to fly in planes. It's like a few hundred people. But I think they will expand it to thousands of people, and eventually, if they want to millions of people. And there's really nothing that anyone can do to stop it. There's nothing anyone wants to do to stop it. I look at some of the political issues of the day, and I continue to hear these phrases being used like, if you're not willing to fight over this issue, then we'll never fight. This is the last stand. This is the last stand. But people aren't fighting. We're not going to have a fight in this country. When people use this rhetoric of, if we don't stand up against this, it's going to be tyranny. It's like all the things that the right wing protests are happening, and no one is doing anything about it. The quote unquote things that are being done, you're going to a PTA meeting and you're yelling at people. This is not power. This is complaining. This is crying for help. These are cries for help. These are not effective actions, right? This is not money, military, or media. These are not conduits of power, right? This is crying for help and complaining and saying, please don't hurt me. This is not a different direction. So I describe the right wing at this point as heretical pagans. They don't like what's going on, and so they directly insult the system. They vote for people like Trump. They want to give a middle finger to the system. And in medieval times, these people would be the Cathars and the Bogomils and these people who are heretical. But there's another group of people, a group of people I prefer to be with, who I'm going to call the alchemists. In the modern day, I call this the deep left. Deep means under the surface. Left means, alternative, creative, oppositional, deviant, different. This is what the deep left means. This is what medieval alchemists were. They were not openly challenging Trinitarianism or Catholicism or the Catholic Church or anything like that. But they were doing things that were clearly not Christian, that were clearly not part of the ruling ideology of the day. And so that's my strategy, is instead of flagrantly violating the system so that you get put under total communism. And I don't know if it's going to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years when this happens, but it's going to start happening to people. You're going to know somebody who spread a bad meme on the internet in 2015, and now they can't get a job, they can't open a bank account, they have to go on government assistance, they're living off food stamps. They're not going to be starving. These people aren't going to be pushed to the point of revolution. Like in 1917 in Russia, people were starving. No one's going to starve. You're just going to be humiliated to the point of powerlessness. That's not strength, right? No one is going to fight back. No one. Look at what's happening to Australians. Australians are not this caricature of what we think of as slave, beta, soy boy, whatever. Australians are relatively, these people are, in my experience and my understanding, relatively powerful, masculine, virile compared to other Western populations. They're not doing anything. They're not going to do anything. And I guess to wrap this up, I'd rather be an alchemist than a Cathar. On a moral level, maybe you say, well, I just have to call out the system. Maybe you want to, but is that what you have to do? Is that the smart thing to do? Is that the right thing to do? Is that the moral thing to do? You feel like you have to, but do you? It's just a question. Think about it. Thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Follow me on Twitter at Jockle, Jokkkull. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.